Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT grammar questions out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problems that we are about to solve are the ones that you will find on page number 893. Please turn to it, page 893, and today is our lesson number. It should say 42, I believe. Let me double check. I think it's 42. Yep. Inadvertently, I put down 43 because of the 93. Today is our lesson number 42. These are a series of 11 questions, as I explained yesterday. They are arranged in the order of difficulty from easy to hard to the most difficult, the hardest one, on a series of in the series of 11 of them. We did the first 4, which were the easy ones, yesterday on the previous page, and today we'll do the mediums that you see in the first column and the hard that you see in the right-hand column. Let's get going. Number 5. The programmers always talked of having too much to do. The programmers always talked. They always talked of having too much to do, too much to do, but in truth they had a lesser amount of work to do than their colleagues. They had lesser amount of work to do than their colleagues. Let's see what we can do here. Do not look at the answer choices. As I always remind you, in these questions, the key here is never to look at the answer choices until you have fixed the sentence yourself. In every single question in these type of questions, cover the answer choices, fix the sentence yourself. Once you know what is wrong with the sentence, once you have fixed it, then and only then we look at the answer choices and we pick the one answer choice that comes closest to what we did. Let's get going. They always talked of having too much work to do, but in truth, they had a lesser amount of work. I don't like that. They had a lesser amount of work. They had less amount of work to do than their colleagues. That's it. They had not a lesser amount, but they had less amount of work to do than their colleagues. Let's see what we can do. Let's look at the answer choices now. B, C, D, and E. So only thing that we have done here is to get rid of the two words here, a lesser, and replace with less. Let's get going. And everything else is the same. Our answer choice starts with the word they, and B starts with their. That's not it. It starts with their. R starts with they. C says they were having less. They were having. That's not what we said. They had less. D says the amount of work. No. R says to start with. It has to start with they. They had less amount of work to do than, there you go, the answer is E. They had less amount of work to do than their colleagues. That's all. The answer is E. Next one. Film audiences in the 50s. Film audiences in the 50s. So, more musicals than the 60s and 70s. Well, there is definitely something wrong with this sentence. It says film audiences in the 50s saw more musicals then 60s and 70s. To which you will say, what the hell? We have to compare people from one era to not the other era, but the people in the other era. We have to compare the peoples from the one time period to the people of some other time period, not the other time period itself. So it should read, film audiences in the 50s saw more musicals than did the film audiences in the 60s and 60s, or in or of. It should read, film audiences in the 50s and film audiences in the 50s saw more musicals than did the film audiences of 60s and 70s. Then did the film audiences of 60s and 70s. So what change did we do? I think we inserted this entire part. Then did the film audiences of, and this word has to go. That's it. That's our change. We inserted those 4 words there. So let's see what we can do. Because the only word that was underlined was then, and that would actually stay. That word actually would stay. The change here, the so-called change here, actually is not. We are not changing anything in the text itself, but we are adding something to it. These 3 words. Then did the film audiences of these 5 words. So let's lift our hand now. So let's see what we can do. B, C, D, and E. B says then did. No, we're looking for did the film audiences of. C says then the films of. That's not it. Then did the audience in. No, that's not it. Then did the audience in. Then did. They don't have the article. Then did the audience in. There you go. They don't have the word film. Then did the audience in instead of of, which is fine. Which is fine. So their sentence reads. Film audiences in the 50s. Film audiences in the 50s saw more musicals than did. We said film audience. They just say audience. Then did audience in the 60s and 70s. The answer is E. Then did the audience in the 60s and 70s, because now we're comparing audiences to the audience of one area to the audience of the other area, from audience to people of the 50s with the people in the 60s and 70s. Because earlier the way it was written, we were comparing the people in one era with the time period. That doesn't work that way. The answer is E. Next one. Number 7. Unlike American architects who preceded him, Frank Lloyd Wright did not draw on classical or European architecture for inspiration. Let's see what we can do with this sentence. Let's see how we can fix it. Let's read one more time. It says, unlike all the American architects who came before him, unlike American architect who preceded him, which should have been comma here. Unlike American architects who preceded him, Frank Lloyd Wright did not draw on classical or European architecture for inspiration. How do we fix it? How does one fix this sentence? The answer to which is, one does not. It is beautifully written sentence. There is nothing wrong with it. So that we don't need to fix anything. It's fine the way it is. Unlike American architects who preceded him, Frank Lloyd Wright did not draw on classical or European architecture for inspiration. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The answer is A. The sentence will remain the way it is. The answer is A. Number 8. The revolt against the Victorianism, the revolt against the Victorianism was perhaps even more marked in poetry than, I'm just going to fix it because the mistake here is so glaring, the mistake here is so obvious. I'm just going to fix it because I can't help it. As you're reading it, the revolt was even more marked in poetry than in, it has to be in, than in something else, than in something else. Okay, one more time. I'm going to read the sentence now the way it's written here instead of the way I wrote it here, because this is what you see on the blackboard are the juicy bits. Now I've taken out all the boring bits. It says the revolt against Victorianism. The revolt against Victorianism. The revolt against Victorianism. The revolt was even more marked in poetry than, it should say in, than in either fiction or drama. Than in, instead of something else, than in either fiction or drama. But we need in here. The revolt was even more marked in one thing than in the other. It was more marked in this scenario than it was in that scenario. The in is missing here. Let's lift our answer choice. Not our answer choice, rather. Let's lift our hand now and let's go through the answer choices and look for one answer choice where they have the word in inserted. There is no point in looking at A, B, C because none of these three answer choices have the word in the beginning. The answer is not A, B, or C. It's got to be either D or E. Let's look at D. D says in either fiction or drama. There you go. In either fiction or drama. And E says in either fiction or in drama, which is a little bit verbose. We don't need this word in to be repeated. It was more revolved than it was more marked in poetry than in either fiction or drama. Not in either fiction or in drama. The answer is D. We don't need to repeat the word in. The answer is D. Because economic hardship is the real source of many other problems, because economic hardship is the real source of many other problems, is the reason why the revolution government attacked inflation first. The sentence reads, because economic hardship is the real source of many other problems, and then he goes on to say, is the reason. It doesn't flow very well. There is no connection here. There is no continuity. There is no confluence. Just learn this word confluence. This came out of nowhere. I hope that we have learned this word in our vocabulary lessons. Confluence. Like I said, it just came out of nowhere. So now we have to cover it because we can't just leave it hanging. What does it mean, confluence? And I do not think actually that I actually covered it ever. Oh, we did actually. What do you know? What the hell? Confluence. Confluence literally means for two bodies of water to come together. Here's one river here flowing this way, there's another river flowing this way, and then they merge together. And that's called confluence, coming together. Here, things do not come together here. They leave us hanging here. There is no connection between the first part and the second part. I'm going to read it one more time and we'll see how awkward it is, and we'll have no choice but to actually fix it because we'll have this uncontrollable urge to do it. It says, because economic hardship is the real source of many other problems, that is the reason why the government attacked inflation first. Is that all I did? Just one word? That's it? That sounds weird. Yes, apparently it. There you go. We need to, like I said, we need to somehow connect the two parts here. That's the reason. You see, it flows even better if you say that's the reason instead of saying that is the reason. That's the reason why the government attacked inflation first. Because they know that is the root cause of all the other social problem, economic hardship. One more time, economic hardship is the real source of many other problems. That's the reason. We can just say that's why. That is the reason why. No, just say that's why. No, we got rid of two more words. That's why the government attacked inflation first. That's it, we're done. Now we're going to lift our hand, we're going to look at one answer choice that comes closest to it. We need the word that in here, and we need to get rid of the reason part. Let's see which one of these four answer choices does the job. B says, because economic hardship is the real source of many other problems. Oh, they took out everything else. Many other problems. The government attacked inflation first. Even more succinct. Government attacked inflation first. So they don't even have these two words. They don't even have these two words. I'm going to keep B. I'm just going to keep B because that's pretty succinct, as we said, and we'll learn the word succinct in a second. C does not start out with the word because. None of the others start out with the word because. We did not make any other change. It starts out this way. We did not change that part. It has to start out this way, and we have the word that is why, but they don't have these two words. They have taken out everything. Their answer choice reads, because economic hardship is the real source of many other problems, the government attacked inflation first. Even more succinct, even more concise. The answer is B. All the other, as I said, they do not start out with the word because. We have not made any other change. The answer choice, whatever it is, has to start out with because we did not change the beginning part of the sentence. And the only other answer choice other than A, that begins with because, is B. And C, D, and E do not do the job. The answer is B. Let's learn the word succinct, shall we? We're done with this thing. The answer is B. And I'm not sure actually if we learned the word succinct in our vocabulary lessons. And succinct is a tricky one because I never know how to spell the bloody thing. But then again, you can't go by that because I never know how to spell anything. Any words, that is. Any word. Succinct. Succinct means to be brief and clear. Simply being brief is not enough. Succinct has a nuance that one is not only just being brief, but even though they are very brief in their answer, they are still very clear. They are very lucid. It's very, very easy to understand. Learn the word succinct. Just type in SAT vocabulary words, day 16, and you will learn the word succinct. Learn this word and ask yourself what is the difference between that word and this word, laconic, and terse, and curt. All of these words mean to be brief. All of these words mean to be brief, but they have different nuances. They have different nuances. Nuance is the word we learned on the very first day. Even though they all mean the same thing, they have minute, subtle differences in their meaning, and those are called nuances. And you will learn all of those words on day number 16. Just as I said, just type in SAT vocabulary words. Day 16, you will find these words. Similarly, to learn the word confluence, just type in SAT vocabulary words. Day 9. If you are interested in improving your score in the reading portion of the exam. And I see why you would not be, why one would not be. What number was this one? Enough of the talk. That was number 9, I believe. We are on number 10. Number 10. In Germany, foresters discovered that trees. They discovered that trees killed by acid rain had begun to die 4 years earlier. They discovered that they had begun to die 4 years earlier, even though the trees had shown no sign of disease then. Even though the trees had shown no signs of disease then. Let's look at this sentence one more time. And the part that is underlined is this part. And what we have to ask ourselves is this underlined portion that we see here, is there something wrong with it? Let's read one more time the entire sentence so that we can see the flow in it. That's how we discover it. We have the answers covered. We do not look at the answer choices. We read it and we ask ourselves, we listen to our ears, even though we're not speaking out loud, we listen to ourselves talk and see what it sounds like. They discovered, the people in Germany that is, they discovered that the trees killed by the acid rain had begun to die 4 years earlier. They had begun to die 4 years earlier, even though they had begun to die 4 years earlier, even though the trees had shown no sign of disease then. It should say disease, not diseases. There should be no S here. Even though the trees had shown no sign of the disease then, that is 4 years earlier. What's wrong with the part that is underlined? The answer is there is nothing wrong with it. The underlined portion is fine the way it is. And therefore there is no change in this sentence. The answer is A. This sentence is fine the way it is. Now why do I have this word begun in capital letter? I want to talk about that. Begun. Shall we? Let's talk about tenses right here for just a little bit, briefly, before we go to the last one. There are some verbs that are more tricky than the others. I'm just going to cover 5 of them, that's all. Starting with begin. This is the present tense, then the past tense, and then what is known as past perfect. Past perfect tense. Begin. Past tense of begin is began. I began the project at 3 o'clock. What about past perfect? Before we talk about what past perfect of begin is, let's ask ourselves, what does it mean, past perfect, the concept? You understand the conceptual notion behind this term? Past perfect, present perfect, future perfect. Future perfect, present perfect, past perfect are tenses where we're talking about 2 events. Listen very carefully. We're talking about 2 events taking place in the same time period, and yet we want to emphasize that one has taken place before the other. If I'm describing 2 events that took place yesterday, both of them took place yesterday, and yet I want to emphasize, I want to convey the idea that one took place before the other. I had already eaten my dinner when you called me to go out with you, to go for dinner. I had already eaten. I had already eaten when you called. When you called is the past tense. And I'm describing another event which took place even before that. So we use past perfect. And therefore we say eaten, not ate. We would not say I had already ate when you called. You would say I had already eaten. Eaten is the past perfect. Similarly here, the past perfect of begin is begun. I had already begun my practice. I had already begun my practice when you came home. See, when you came home, past tense. So here we are using it in past perfect sense, but it could be future perfect also. It could very well be future perfect, where we are describing two events. Neither of them has taken place yet. Both of these events are going to take place in the future, and yet we're trying to convey the notion that one will take place before the other. I will have already begun my lesson by the time you arrive home. Do you understand? Or we will have already left. We will have already left the airport by the time the train gets there. By the time your train gets there. So again, we are describing two events which will take place in the future, but we are describing notions that one will take place before the other. We will have already left. We will have already left by the time you come. That's all. Let's do one more. Drink. Past tense of drink is drank. Past tense of drink is drank. Which is not the tricky part, which is not the difficult part. Most kids get it. Is the past perfect of drink that they do not get sometimes. Past perfect of drink is drunk. I have already drunk my juice. Understand? Where is your juice? Well, I have already drunk it. Yes, I have already drunk it, not I already drank it. I have already drunk it. Past perfect of drink is drunk, even though it may not sound right to you, even though it may sound weird and geeky to you, but that is the proper English. Sing. Past perfect of sing is sang. I sang a song. I have sang a song? No, I have sung a song. I had sung a song. Past perfect. I will have sung a song. Future perfect. Do you understand? By the time you come on the stage, I will have sung a song. Do you understand? Next one. So we have 1, 2, 3. Even though there are only 5, I'm already missing one. 4. Ring. Past perfect of ring again is very straightforward. Everybody knows it. Rang. I rang the doorbell, and then the past perfect would be rung. I have rung the doorbell. Do you understand? If you're standing there at the entrance of the building, and somebody else comes along behind you and says to you, "Why aren't you ring the bell?" You will say, "Well, I have already rung it. Not I have already rung. Not I have already rang it. I have already rung it." Finally, the last one, which I find very amusing, that a lot of the time people don't get it actually, which is swim. And it does appear in the exam every once in a while, not very often, but every once in a while they throw this verb swim in the grammar portion to see if you know it's past tense and past perfect tense. Past tense, of course, again is very straightforward. Swam. I swam. Yesterday I swam for 2 hours. I have already what? Not I have already swam. That's not it. past perfect of swim is, believe it or not, swum. I have already swum. I have already swum. Do you understand? That's all. If you're interested, you can go to number 19. Number 19 on page number 720, and you will find it. You will find a question dealing with the word swim as to how it appears in the exam. Problem number 19 on page number 720. That's it, we're done. Let's go to the last one. It's taking way too long. We have one more to go yet. That's it, we're done. For example, here, after I had swam for 3 hours, I had no energy left to go skating. After I had swam for 3 hours, I had no energy left for skating. That will give you a big fat 0 in the exam. After I had, we need past perfect of swim. Past perfect of swim is swum. After I had swum for 3 hours, I had no energy left to do anything else. Number 11, enough of the talk. Number 11, last one. In the wild, pygmy chimpanzees are found only in inaccessible region of the Zaire River. Oh my God. In the wild, pygmy chimpanzees are found only in inaccessible region of Zaire. Since such, what does it say? Since such is the case, since such is the case, to which you will say, what the hell? Since such is the case, very few are in captivity. Of course, very few are in captivity because they are located in an inaccessible region. They just told us that it's not very accessible. The region is not very accessible. Therefore, very few are in captivity. I think we just fixed it, as a matter of fact. Bloody hell. Let's read it one more time. I think we just did it. Pygmy chimpanzees are found only in an inaccessible region of Zaire. Therefore, voila, therefore, not since such is the case. Therefore, very few are in captivity. There you go. One more time. These chimpanzees are found only in an inaccessible region of Zaire, or however you pronounce that region. Therefore, very few are in captivity. Let's look at the answer choices. So we have gotten rid of everything and inserted the word therefore. B, C, D, and E. We have not done any change here except get rid of these words, since such is the case. And B says, and few are in captivity because of that. That's not it. That's not what they said. No more than a few are in captivity as a result. No. We have the word therefore. The number in captivity is very few for this reason. Let me read one more time. Pygmy chimpanzees are found only in an inaccessible region of Zaire. And then it goes on to say the number in captivity. No, that's not it. It doesn't flow very well. D doesn't make the connection. And he says, and so, no more than few are in captivity. There you go. So, instead of so, we have the word therefore. And so, and instead of comma, they put the word and. And so, We said very few are in captivity, and they say no more than few are in captivity. That's very close. That's the closest we're going to get to it. That's the closest we're going to get to it, and that's your answer choice E. All the others that we see there, B, C, and D, they're too far off from what we have done here. And that's the idea. Don't look at the answer choices, and the right answer actually will pop right out, because you're looking for the one that comes closest to what you have. What we have is very different than what we found in the right answer, but it's the closest that we can get. The answer is E. I will see you tomorrow when we'll begin the series of 18 questions that you see on the next page. If you turn the page, you will find 18 questions beginning with number 12, ending with number 29. Those are a series of 18 questions, and therefore the scale starts all over again. The scale of difficulty is going to start all over again for a series of 18 questions, which means the first 6 of those 18 questions are going to be easy, the middle 6 are going to be medium, and the last 6 are going to be hard. We are going to work on those questions tomorrow. Okay? Bye now.